Welcome to this week's GCNTech Clinic. In this video, I'm going to pick out the questions that you've been submitting underneath our other videos and answer them as best as I can and give you some good advice. So let's dive straight into our first question. First question this week is from Christian Schneider. He says, hey, I'm getting sore toes, especially from hard interval sessions. Not numb toes, but more like inflammation and the skin peeling off. Oh, sounds awful. My bike fitter hasn't complained about my shoe size, so that should be okay. Any suggestions? Yes, I have actually had this problem in the past, and I think it comes from putting additional pressure through your toes when you're doing certain types of efforts, maybe doing sprints or some specific workouts. Now, the things that I've done to try and help this problem are use custom or molded insoles to make sure that you've got the best support possible for your foot. You can also look at doing the same principle with your shoes. Make sure they're a secure fit and not create any pressure points or allowing your foot to move around. And in addition to that, it's kind of just helpful to be mindful that you're not putting additional pressure through your toes and always clawing at the pedals. So even keep it in the back of your mind and it should help alleviate that problem. Next question in is from Tom Barrett. He says, hey Alex, Ollie and Manon, I've got a 2007 Specialized Roubaix with a 3-ring crankset. Now I'm looking at switching that to a 2-ring. What would this entail? And how much money am I looking to spend? Well, you're going to need to buy a handful of different components, and if you shop around, you should be able to find them secondhand for a relatively low cost. That should help be a little bit more friendly on the budget. You're going to need your 2x crankset, you're going to need a left-hand shifter, which is 2x. Now, hopefully you'll be able to find one that matches up to your right. If not, you're going to have to buy a pair. And depending on what setup you've currently got on your bike, you may well have to buy a front derailleur that matches up to that left-hand shifter because the cable pull rates might be slightly different. So you've got shifter, front derailleur, and then your crankset. There you go, should be sorted. Next question in is from Love Cupid. They say, hi Ollie, Alex and Manon and all of the GCNTech crew. Thanks very much. I've got a gravel bike that doubles up as my road bike. I'm thinking of changing the wheels to a set of Aero ones with slick tyres when I'm doing road rides and then keeping the knobbly gravel wheels for when I do gravel. I was just wondering how much more effective would these tyres and wheels be? Or is the gravel bike too sluggish on roads to capitalise on the Aero gains? Aero wheels, lightweight tyres will make a huge difference on your bike. You'll be amazed at how much faster you're going to go, and if anything, you might end up needing some slightly harder gearing to account for all that newfound speed that you've got. But in general, having a gravel bike frame set compared to a road bike one will be a little bit slower, but the difference isn't huge, so I wouldn't really worry about it too much. But you will make a big difference upgrading those wheels and tyres. Next question in is from Luke Proctor. They say, hi tech team, I'm looking to buy a low-end winter bike and I'm on a small budget, wondering whether to go for rim brakes or mechanical or cable actuated disc brakes, which would be a better option. Weight isn't an issue and I live in a fairly flat area, so there won't be any speedy descents where you need hydraulic brakes. What would I recommend? Well, building a winter bike on a budget, I would recommend you build it up with cable-operated rim brakes. I don't think you need to have anything more than that, especially if you live in a flat area. By using a rim brake, you're going to be able to have access to lots of different parts and they'll be at a slightly lower price point, so that'll help make it a little bit more budget-friendly. And if you're not doing those crazy fast descents, you don't need to worry about the additional stopping power. So yeah, save your money, spend it on extra bike parts and cake for the summer. Next question in is from D's Nuts. What a username. They say, hi Ollie and Alex. I'm moving to moving to a lighter cassette reduce the power output when traveling at the same speed when climbing. Well, reducing the weight of your bike in almost any situation is going to improve your speed ever so slightly. On the flat, that change is going to be fairly negligible, but up a climb, yes, reducing the overall weight of your bike will help you ride for a little bit faster for that set speed, but it isn't such a big deal as what you might have imagined. So ages ago, Ollie and I did an experiment where we rode for 1 hour up a big epic mountain climb, and then by reducing the weight of your overall system by 1 kilogram, it saves around 30 seconds off your overall time. So in the instance of the savings of weight from changing a cassette, even if you said you could save 100 grams on your cassette, it's probably only really going to save you somewhere between 3 to 5 seconds. So It isn't really going to be a huge difference, but you will ride a tiny little bit faster. So take what you want from that. If you want to go a bit faster, save some weight. If you're not too worried, that small saving is going to only really be relevant when you're doing a race or something like that. Next question in is from Lisa Rogers. They say, I'm looking at getting a power meter in the future. I've got a question about the temperature compensation feature. I know it could be a little bit early on in the year, and it looks like the weather may be getting a bit better here in the UK. But the question is, I keep my bike inside the house when it's warm, and then when I take my bike outside, the temperature is lower, especially in the colder months. What would I need to do to get an accurate power reading? Should I just leave my bike outside so it's at the same temperature? What would I need to do to recalibrate it using the power meter app? You've almost answered your question yourself. So the best practice to account for this change in temperature, if your bike is inside, is to move it to the outside, leave it for 15 minutes so that the crank can be up to the temperature of the conditions that you're riding in. And then you can do your zero offset on your power meter to make sure it's as accurate as possible. And then any small changes when you're out riding will be compensated for in the power meter software so that it knows that how the temperature affects the readings, and then you have an accurate power meter. So I don't think you need to worry about it. And it sounds like you're already on the right track to making sure it's as accurate as possible. Next question in is from Nicholas Remillard. Actually, they've given me a hint here on how to say their name. My name is pronounced Raymiar, so Nicholas Raymiar. Thanks very much, I needed that help actually. Hi folks, this is more a bike clothing tech question for riders that are gradually gearing up as they're heading into the sport. Starting from a $45 road cycling jersey, I know I can get a mid-range or high-end jersey. Obviously the quality isn't comparable from the low cost to the high cost, but outside of the sort of quality, what are the differences as we go up in price? Is there a difference in sweat retention, breathability, aero gains? Am I missing anything with his cheap beginner jersey? Well, you've kind of listed some of the differences in the features there, but basically going from a lower price point up to a higher price point jersey, you're going to get a difference in the materials that are used, the cuts and the fit of the jersey, things like the length of the sleeves, the materials and their breathability, the overall actual weight of the garment. So a more expensive jersey tends to be a little bit lighter weight. It's more breathable. The material properties, so many premium or slightly higher price point jerseys will be made from a material which helps to reduce the aerodynamic drag of the rider, and it's a little bit less flappy. You've got things like the zips will be of a better quality, the stitching, the additional features such as grippers on your sleeves around the waistband of the jersey. All of this helps to make for a slightly better product. It's not to say that jerseys at a lower price point aren't any good, because there's loads of fantastic ones out there. But I think you'll find as a beginner starting out, you don't need to invest in the best clothing. Get the stuff that gets the job done. And then as you get into cycling more, then look at upgrading and spending a little bit more money and making use of those extra features. Right then, on to our last question this week is from Graham Austin. He says, am I okay to take tubeless tyres on a flight? I can't let them down in case they burp, and in the past, some airlines have been insistent that the tyres are deflated, even though it's contrary to physics. Is it contrary to physics? I don't think it is. Yes, so it is more than okay to fly with tubeless tyres on your bike, and the advice from the airline to let the tyres down, it's always best to follow the advice of the airline, otherwise you could run into all sorts of problems. Now, I've been flying with tubeless tyres since back in around 2007 in my cross-country mountain bike days. So what I tend to do is to reduce the pressure of the tyre to about half of its normal working pressure, and then you've got a little bit of a buffer either side. If the pressure has to drop, the tyre shouldn't burp and you shouldn't have tubeless sealant everywhere. And then also if the pressure increases, the tyre should still be within its normal working pressure. But in terms of you saying that it's contrary to physics, well, I don't think it is, because the higher up you go, the air becomes thinner, therefore the pressure in the tyre will increase because the outside air pressure has decreased. So if you left your tyres pumped up at a high pressure, as you go up through the atmosphere, they could reach a pressure that's over or exceeding their maximum pressure, and I know they could pop off the rim, go with a loud bang. But something I did research and look into is that most airlines keep the cargo hold pressurized at the same pressure as the cabin, so where all the people are. So overall, your tyres shouldn't really be impacted by much. So maybe it's just an airline rule or guidance that is a little bit outdated. So go for half pressure, you'll be safe either way. that was our last question. So that's it for this week's GCN Tech Clinic. Hope you found that helpful. And if I didn't answer your question, sorry about that, but keep submitting it in the comments section down below, and well, hopefully we'll get to it in the coming weeks. See you later.